you might know that if you sometimes look in a reflective surface, you could see images of the future or things of this nature, like a crystal ball. Turns out that there were different ways of doing this kind of thing using reflective surfaces, because presumably there were demons that were involved in these things, and you could ask them questions. And these are found in knives, cups, thumbnails, and things of this nature. This, by the way, also is the reason given in Sefer Tamei Minhagim why during Havdalah, people, when they look at the candle, the Havdalah candle, they cover their thumbs, lest you, perchance, look at your thumbnail in the light and the thumb sar will be there and you will see something untoward, and you don't want that to happen. And similarly, also Rashi, by the way, when he talks about Yosef, and you know how Yosef hid his cup, right? And this is the special cup. Rashi says, what was special about that cup? He says, Menacheshani b'gavia sheli. Rashi says it was the cup that Yosef at least would tell people he used to tell the future. So there is something about looking in reflective surfaces that has some sort of demonic things in them. However, based on this, what you should really then do is not just cover a mirror, but you should cover anything reflective.
Right.
And now, my friends, it is time to read you this selection. It says, in some parts of Germany and Belgium, after a death, not only the mirrors, but everything that shines or glitters, windows, clocks, etc., is covered up. Very nice. So we find that there is such a custom. However, this is not a Jewish custom. And this is what Goyim in Germany and Belgium do. And this is found in the book by Fraser's famous book on all kinds of superstitions and folklore called The Golden Bow. And there he has a long discussion about something that appears, he says, in cultures all over the world. He says this is found in Bombay, Madagascar, Scotland and England, and Belgium and Germany, that people cover their mirrors and all reflective surfaces in a house when a death occurs. Why is it that they do this? Well, they have a different kind of a reason. And Yarden, because I know that you're excited about this, they also cover up the mirrors in a house where a sick person is, because of the same idea. And they worried about sick people too. Why? Because the belief was not like the Jewish idea that there might be a demonic force in the mirror. That's not the idea. But that the ruach that is in the mirror is not a ruach as in a shed, kind of demonic force ruach, but a person's soul in some fashion. Now this is the non-Jewish idea. I know people probably heard many times of, some tribe in New Guinea that is discovered, and when they take out a camera to take a picture of them, they say, no, don't take a picture because you will trap my soul in that image of the photograph. Well, apparently there was a belief that a person's soul could be trapped in their reflection in the mirror. Therefore, a person who was sick, who their soul was already teetering, is it going to be in their body or out of their body? You wouldn't expose them to a mirror. Why? Because the soul could jump into the mirror. So too, what would happen is and therefore, by the way, there's another custom like this. I remember the Stavskis are here. One time, the Stavskis asked me this question. They say that their kids had a baby, and the mother-in-law from the other side, of course, said, you're not supposed to show a baby a mirror when they're very, very young. And he asked me, what is the reason for this? I said, well, that's an ancient non-Jewish custom. That since a baby is just a baby and just got his soul in him, so the soul is not quite attached. And therefore, if you show the baby the mirror, what might happen is the soul's going to jump out into that mirror. So, therefore, we have some kind of a custom which goes like this, that a reflection can trap a person's soul. And therefore, if a dead person is dead and his soul came out, and there's a mirror, and some other dude is looking in that mirror, what might happen to that poor dead person's soul? It will be trapped in that mirror instead of going to Olam Haba or wherever it's supposed to go. Yes? That's the Goyish superstition. This is what Melvin was saying, that in the Philippines they cover their mirrors because of this idea. Because they are afraid that the dead person's soul will be trapped in a mirror. And that's also, by the way, I don't know if any of you ever heard this old medieval Jewish custom, that if there is a bowl of water or exposed water in a dead person's home, when the person does, you have to pour it out. Now, the reason is why? Because it's reflective. It's reflective. And he said, I know, the reason officially is given because that's a nice way to tell someone that there was a death in the house, right? Without actually saying it. However, and this is also Sperber already mentions it, he says it seems that because it's to get rid of this reflective surface that the soul won't be trapped there. And now, let's read here. Oh, here's a nice explanation. Look, this is from this book I found, Lion and Dragon in Northern China. Book from 1910 talking about Chinese customs. It says there that in China they believe that every mirror has a mysterious faculty of invisibly retaining and storing up everything that is reflected on its surface. If anything so ill-omened as a corpse or a ghost was to pass before it, the mirror would thenceforth become a permanent radiator of bad luck. And therefore, in some households, mirrors are covered or turned upside down, not only when a corpse is in the house, this is in China, by the way, but after sundown every day. For it is thought that when the evil spirits come out, sundown. And therefore, they would cover them up in China every day. So now, the thing is, so now the question is, so what's going on over here? Now, what I've discovered was, I decided, where's the earliest source for this? What I found is that already in the 1700s, I found a person called Reverend George Lowe. He wrote a book called The History of Orkney, talking about the Orkney Islands, which are north of Scotland. And in the 1700s, he writes that when he visited Orkney, he saw that people there, when someone dies in the family, cover or turn over their mirrors. So we see that decades before this appears in any kind of Jewish literature whatsoever, it was already being done in Scotland and Ireland. And in fact, when I contacted an Irish, folklore people, and I wrote to this professor of folklore somewhere in Ireland, and I said, are there any sources of Irish people covering their mirrors after a death? The lady wrote, it's in every source. Like, she can't tell me a book, it's all over. And I asked Rich Goldberg, who is a friend of mine from Richmond, Virginia, said, do you have any Irish co-workers? And he asked his Irish co-workers, and they said, yeah, the old school Irish guys, they do that. And they said, you know why? It's an old Irish custom. What I've discovered is that aside from Jewish people, every other person in the world who covers mirrors considers it to be their own custom. Melvin felt it was a Philippine custom. The Irish think it's an Irish custom, and the Jewish people think it's a Jewish custom. In fact, I saw an episode of Law & Order SVU recently dealing with some sort of Nigerian person that got killed, and in the scene the detectives go into the house, and the Nigerian lady is covering up a mirror. And the detective says, what are you doing? She says, this is a Nigerian custom. So therefore, I will say as follows. On planet Earth, their mirrors were seen by people for many, many years, many centuries, to be something creepy and weird and scary. Because you look at yourself in it, and you're there, and it's weird. And therefore, there developed a universal custom on everyone in the world, basically, to cover their mirrors. And I found it everywhere. I found that people who are Muslim do it, Christian, and it doesn't matter. There's Buddhists, everyone does it basically. If you now then I looked specifically. What about in Hungary? What about in Romania? And I found, yes, some kind of book and Hungarian customs and all of this, and Hungarian peasant customs. That was the name of the book, written in 1900, and there too it said that this is a custom. Now the big question becomes: so how was it that a universal folk custom now sort of made its way into the halakha?